Good morning, brothers and sisters. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christian. I'm primarily a musician, but just over the course of the past month, I've been making videos about all the different things in my life that have changed my perspective and made me who I am, and in the hopes that anyone else that's going through similar things, maybe there's certain things that you could take from these videos, or there's certain things like what I'm about to talk about today that may or may not influence the way that you decide to explore yourself, essentially, because that's what psychedelics are. And what I want to talk about today is psilocybin. Mushrooms were something that I always wanted to try when I had my first spiritual awakening in 2012, but on top of not really being able to find someone who deals that felt like a safe person, I guess, but also I guess it wasn't the right time for me. There was a lot of work that I needed to do for myself first. And the thing about mushrooms is that a lot of people have taken it recreationally, and a lot of people have done it in groups, outdoors, and I don't want to negate your experience. Maybe you've done mushrooms with friends in the woods and have just had an incredible time, right? My experience, I've only done this 4 times, but my experience has been entirely therapeutic, and I'd like to walk through all 4 times. The first 3 have a lot to do with the relationship that I was in at the time, and also my relationship to myself as well. So I might get a little personal, and then the one that I did this year was insanely personal and very isolated. But that's the beautiful thing about psilocybin, is that when you're on a healing journey, even if you do set intentions and you are working on yourself, psilocybin will still show you things that you're maybe ignoring or maybe not even thinking about, right? Like, because there's the idea that the subconscious mind holds things that are actually very important to our development, but we won't actually explore those things either out of ignorance or out of fear. Most times it's out of fear. A lot of us suppress how we feel or certain things that we think in order to keep ourselves safe. Because I know from my experience anyway, I've had to do that my entire life, because even though I had a very blessed childhood and there was abundance, on the flip side of that, there was also a lot of abuse and neglect. And so at a very early age, I learned how to dissociate, which did keep me safe. But at the same time, now there's a lot of unweeding to be done. And that's what my whole practice for the past 10 years has been. But let me focus now on my very first mushroom trip. In 2019, I met this incredible person. And even though she and I were on the same page since day one, things weren't really lined up for us. Like, she was supposed to move to Colorado, and, I was still coming into my own. 2019 was essentially like the end of my 20s, the end of probably the most exciting, divisive, shakeup of my life as far as a decade goes. So, and also in 2009 is when I started, recording professionally, playing out. So from 2009 to 2019, there was essentially this whole decade of my life as a musician. 2009, I also left my father's house, so I was out on my own for the first time, and so there was a lot of beginnings in 2009, and then there was a lot of endings in 2019. And meeting this person was definitely part of the bookend for me. And, we did a lot of very incredible things together almost right away. Hiking, outdoor, outdoor museums in a way, which is really cool. We went to an event, Paul Selig, and got to see him with Aubrey Marcus, which was a lot of fun. We went to Omega. And the cool thing too is that the love that we were cultivating was emanating from us, that people all around us kept staring at us, or kept stopping us and making especially at Omega, right? So that was kind of cool to see the world around us reacting to how we were feeling inside about each other and ourselves. And so one of the many things that we decided to do together was take mushrooms. Now, she's done it before. I was kind of new. She knew someone that was safe to get from, so I trusted her. And we went back to my grandfather's place where I was staying at the time. And where I was staying was my mom's old room. And I lost my mom in 2006, which even though I wouldn't say there was spirituality involved in that, that definitely was my first awakening. Just to the fact that life is this temporary thing, and we're all gonna die one day, right? It was so eye-opening, and I made another video specifically about my near-death experience that's all tied to that. Definitely go check that out. I'm just gonna keep it focused on this one. But my first experience was, and I took what I set the intention for back in 2012 for this experience, that if I ever tried mushrooms, it would be on a slice of pizza. And that's exactly what I did. I put, I think it was an eighth? Yeah, I think it was an eighth of psilocybin on a slice of pizza. Fun fact, I've done it this way ever since. Just with no, I didn't want too much in my stomach, obviously, because you get this purging feeling. But let me just ease into it. So I had psilocybin on the slice. Psilocybin didn't taste so great. As a lot of people say, hey, eating mushrooms, they kind of suck. You make it as a tea, you put it in food to sort of mask it, but the flavor is not that good. But yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I think we kind of work ourselves up a little bit. But I think it was 35, maybe 45 minutes in, similar to my experience with LSD, almost on the dot. There was a specific amount of time that I read that it takes for it to kick in, and it kicked in exactly, and I felt it, but what I was feeling wasn't and this might be something else that I talk about too, because this is another thing that I did. But it's a little bit what am I thinking of? What is it called? Anyway, getting a little lost in the name of things, but it's a little bit similar to the LSD that I was talking about before, about this other substance that I'm forgetting about. But once it does come to me, I'd be happy to talk about it in a different video. But as soon as it kicked in, I just felt this expansiveness in my body. I'm sitting in my body and I'm feeling everything inside my body almost expand in a way, which was very, very strange. But the strangest thing was the emotional shift. All of a sudden, like the walls around Paradise in Attack on Titan, right? When Eren calls for the Titans to come out of the walls, and all the walls come down. That's essentially what I felt inside of me. And everything that I've been shielding to keep myself safe for decades completely was out in the open. Pure vulnerability. And usually when I'm in a relationship, that's the safest space for me to be vulnerable. But it was so funny because, like, even in those situations, I still have some sort of control over how much I'm willing to show or how much of me I'm willing to share. And Psilocybin was like, you're not holding on to anything. You're just gonna be. And it was like me and my I watched us both transform. Like, she was like this very like somewhat introverted, very sweet, and then like all of a sudden she's like jumping around. She has all this energy. She's big. She's talking a lot. So it's like our inner selves came out in a way. And my inner self was just like this like very inquisitive, watching child, right? Like most of my expressiveness wasn't even there. Like it was on my face, but like typically, maybe I'm doing this right now, but typically when I'm expressing myself, there's a lot of like controlled, kind of calculate. This is another reason why I like to make these videos the way that I do, where it's kind of just like in one shot, and you know, like there's no real editing, there's no real you know, like splicing up, I don't know, making it like neat and whatever. Like I want you to see all of it like in its rawest form, because like this is me, right? But even in this form, there's still a lot of like, you know, reaching for ideas and reaching for names and recollecting things and trying to communicate those with like the best words and stuff. So there's still a lot of like control and rigidity there. Whereas like on mushrooms, once it kicked in, I didn't have any control at all. The control that I did have still was what I decided to physically do. And initially, I just decided to sit there on the floor. I decided to sit there on the floor, watch my partner literally just like roll around and laugh and dance and sing and do all these things. It was beautiful. And, you know, me being a Capricorn, it almost made sense with my nature to kind of just like be still like a mountain and watch my beautiful Pisces partner flow like the water sign she is, constantly changing. What's insane though, because like I didn't get heavy visuals, but in this first trip I definitely got visuals. There was a photo, and I still have it somewhere. There was a photo of me and my brother as little kids, and I looked at it, and we were both like smiling. I looked at me, and the word that popped into my head was happy. And initially when I was looking at the photo, there was like this ring of light emanating from all directions from me. And then as soon as the word happy popped up into my head, all that light shrank and condensed into one single point and then shot off in one direction. And in that moment, I understood the physical form of language, and that even though language is extremely expressive, and that's why I think it shot off in a direction, like it's going somewhere, and that's sort of like what this is too. Like I'm communicating to you, sharing stories, and you're receiving it, and then maybe you're commenting, and then now we're in dialogue with each other. But in taking that emotion that I guess I was seeing physically and giving it a word, giving it a name, it limits it. It condenses it into just this singular idea. And so in that moment, I also understood that our emotions and also the things that we see around us are so much more than how we try to describe them. And, you know, maybe there's certain aspects of that I already kind of understood from like listening to different kinds of like physics videos and just like the quantum realm and like how the observer kind of affects things. And so it sort of felt like that in a way, but with language. But the most profound thing that I saw on this trip, right? Because like it wasn't just a bunch of visual things. It was just a couple visual things, but mostly like emotional stuff, which was crazy. But the other visual thing, and then was the most profound thing, was when I looked outside, I saw all these strings of light from all these different places across the neighborhood shooting up into the sky. And in the sky was this big, giant, like cascading field of light. And the funny thing too is that like I saw the sky for what it was, but then I also saw the light there too. But they were in the same place, but they weren't in the same dimension. And somehow I was able to see them both in the same place. And it's kind of hard to describe seeing something there, but also being able to see past it and see. Yeah, it was weird. It's like overlaying images almost in a way. It's sort of like that. But the clarity of both images were like if the other image wasn't there. Yet they both were, and I could see both separately together. It's very hard to describe. But it reminded me of Alex Gray's piece, Hall of Mirrors, because I turned back from the window and I noticed that there was a string of light coming from my partner's head too, going straight up. And so I immediately felt like, we're all fingers on a hand that think that we're separate because their fingers feel separate because we don't get to see the hand. And the hand is this big thing of light and we're just these little strings. It was crazy. I think that's what I was seeing possibly was the physical manifestation of consciousness. And, the idea that life might be like radio and we are just antennas picking up the frequency of consciousness. And, based on our bodies, our experiences, our traumas, consciousness conforms to everything that makes us who we are. But who we are beyond these identities, these roles that we play in, 80, 90 years, we're so much more than that. We're actually just the pure awareness, the light that's behind all of it. And really, it's just, we're connected to other things. So like, maybe that's why when people pass away, they say that like, the light in their eyes are gone. Because that's what we are. This was just an incredible bonding experience with my partner. She, at one point, like when I started feeling more talkative, because another thing too is, like I mentioned a little earlier, that you will feel a little nauseous, which is why I didn't want to have too much in my stomach. She decided to smoke a little in order to suppress some of that sick feeling. I wanted to roll deeper into the trip. And every time I felt that nauseous feeling, I would feel it, acknowledge it, and roll with it, and it would pull me deeper into the trip. Things wouldn't get more visual, but I would feel more, even more. I think that not just because I'm an earth sign and a Capricorn, but because of or even a man in this society, but I think because of the childhood trauma that I have, how I learned to deal with life, with suppressing things and whatnot, that I just have so many walls, so many layers, like an onion. I'm like an onion. I'm an onion. That's me. I'm an onion, or like a head of garlic, where like you peel something away and there's more. And that's what psilocybin was doing. Psilocybin was like, we're gonna take this off, we're gonna take this off, we're gonna take this off. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And that's why I didn't want to like take anything to numb any of the experience at all, I'm not against smoking. If you feel nauseous and you think it'll help, like definitely do that, but I wanted to really roll deeper into it, as deep as I possibly can go. And I think that, to borrow a quote from a friend, I think the reason why is because at this point in my life, the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of change. And when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, we will change. So that's why I was fearlessly rolling deeper into the trip. As I mentioned earlier, when I started being more talkative and she was more chilled out, according to her, I was like glowing as I'm speaking, which is crazy, and I wasn't glowing to her at any other point in the trip. I got one download, one thing that just came to me, and I had to write it down, and then I read it back, and I was like, oh my God. And it was, just because it doesn't matter doesn't mean it doesn't matter. And I don't think I was thinking of anything specific at all. It just came through me somehow. And when I wrote it down and looked at it, I was like, oh my God. Because like there's, you know, for me, I know we're all like this, but for me, there's certain things I like, there's certain things I don't like. There's certain people I like, certain people I don't like, you know, like certain vibes I vibe with, certain vibes I don't, you know, certain foods I like, certain foods I don't. So I'm always judging things based on what we like and what we don't like, you know, and, you know, something that we really don't like or something that really doesn't matter to us might trip, especially if we think about it too much, might trip us up a little bit. Like why does that even exist? Why does this exist? Why is that being made? Why is this way? Why is it? Just because it doesn't matter to me doesn't mean it doesn't matter to someone else. Or just because it doesn't matter to you doesn't mean it doesn't matter to me. So like, and that wasn't even something I was thinking about. So that was fascinating. That came through. And that was just an incredible eye-opening experience. My second trip was after 2020. So that was 2019. So it was 2021. And 2021 was a transformative year. Another video I made on something I was going through at the time. Me and my partner decided to experiment with polyamory. So definitely go check out that video if you're interested in any of those details. But so I was going through that. I was just starting to get back into music. I was learning how to record myself. I had just gotten this amazing new job that freed me up both financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, to do more of what I wanted to do. And so it was just a transformative year for me, you know, after a very difficult year, you know, and I wasn't entirely out of the weeds just yet, because also my relationship was changing in a way too, not just because of the polyamory. I would say that, just to keep it brief, polyamory really deepened the relationship I had with my partner at the time. And it taught me how to be with myself again while I'm in a relationship. Usually, I have no problem whatsoever when I'm solo I have no problem being alone. I have no problem spending time with myself and being comfortable and coming back to myself. It's when I'm with a partner, that's the challenge. Because I like to sacrifice myself at the altar of every relationship I'm in. And my last relationship was entirely about learning how to get past that. Because you should not lose yourself in a relationship. But anyway, coming back to my second time experiencing mushrooms, right? Nothing was visual this time, and everything was just this deep therapeutic experience. Because of the first experience I had with my partner, I wanted to have something similar. But because of where we were at in our lives, 2 years later, not only did we not get that, but we weren't even on the same page of wanting that. My partner was wanting to have a solo experience, even though I was there. So she wanted me in her orbit, but she didn't want me to be a direct part of her experience. Like, she wanted to just go deeper into herself. Even though I kept suggesting things like, oh, let's watch this thing, or, let's play a song together, or, let's meditate, let's do something together, right? I wanted to do like a together activity, and she was like, no. Like, if you feel like doing any of these things, like, go into the other room and do them, And so I walked into our bedroom, and for some reason I walked into our closet. We had like a little walk-in closet. And I just broke down. Not because I was told to leave someone's presence, or that I was denied having the same kind of experience I had before, but because I felt deep in my soul how I couldn't be with myself. And the funny thing is I'm really good at being with myself, but when I'm with someone else, I can't be with myself. In 2021, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like a ton of bricks, and that was the biggest takeaway from that experience. I did some journaling, I did some meditating, but that was my big takeaway from that. The third time that I did mushrooms was on a hike. I believe it might have been Caterskill Falls. I was with my ex, her sister, and a friend of ours from work. And for the first time, and I don't think I felt this before I took the mushrooms either, but for the first time, I felt like we were just on completely different sheets of music. I felt the just like she was coming into her bigger self, which is a beautiful thing to witness. But because we had established a relationship on a different foundation, that changing the foundation now, a certain element of it, which would be her, even though I was changing too, but the way that I was changing was kind of just like taking what was already pre-established and just like going deeper. Whereas like this was like peeling back the layers and getting bigger. And the way that she was getting bigger was conflicting with, I guess, what I wanted in a relationship, right? On this mushroom trip, I felt that more than anything, because the entire time, and listen, you're watching me talk right now. Like, I like to talk, like I like to share. I like to, be a part of what's going on. And for the first time ever, I felt no space for that at all. And even trying to express that felt like a battle, Like, I was essentially told, like, well, if I want to speak, then just speak. But at the same time, I was trying to, and I was either being spoken over or shut down. And I can't hold that against her, because she was having her own experience. Having other people there was mostly just for support for her experience. So this experience that I was having, I was not able to have for myself, because in a way, the experience, the trip that she was having, had to revolve around her experience. So it was almost like how the second trip was, but even more distant, and more profound. And I learned to kind of just walk off and have my own experience, and not feel bad for it, not feel like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. It's because not only do I have all this trauma from childhood, I also have a lot of trauma from relationships where I was basically cultivated to be a certain way, or I thought I had to be a certain way. Like, I learned to show up and not be so selfish in a relationship, but the inverse of that is not showing up for yourself and being so selfless that you're like hurting yourself. And so this was like a big wake-up call for me. It was beautiful to be outside. Didn't get any visuals. It was just an emotional roller coaster for me. Very eye-opening. The final trip, I actually did mushrooms 2 more times, so it's 5 times total. I'm sorry if this is a little lengthy. I hope that if you're still watching, that there's still interesting value that you're getting from these. The 4th time that I tried mushrooms, it was towards the end of our relationship. One day I decided to check in with her, and we realized that we're both on, like we both wanted 2 different things, as far as relationships go, as far as like for ourselves, the trajectory of our lives and everything like that. And I've learned in past relationships that even if it's good, you have to be able to walk away from it if it's not right. It doesn't, it could be good, where there's no abuse, there's no, name calling, there's whatever, but, if people want different things, you gotta pay attention to that. And what's in your heart, too, because, you could just be, so in love with the other person that you don't want to let them go, I know for me, when I invest myself in things, whether it's, a band or a relationship or whatever it is, it's always been hard for me to walk away from these things, especially as time goes on, because I'm losing a piece of myself in a way. But the funny thing is that the more I've learned to do that, the easier it's gotten. Emotionally, it's still devastating. Emotionally, it's still hard. But the decision to walk away has gotten easier. And the last relationship I walked away from, although it wasn't perfect, easily was the best relationship I've ever had. And most people wouldn't walk away from it, because most people just want something comforting, familiar, and also we don't think we deserve better. Think of the best relationship, friendship or otherwise, that you've ever had. Think of that. Now, if that relationship is no longer in your life, do you really think that that was the best that you deserve to ever experience? If that relationship is still in your life and it's still great, then that's great. But maybe there's certain aspects that we find in other people that we think we could never find in someone else, especially in ourselves, right? And this 4th mushroom trip, I was sitting in our old apartment in this place that I called home for 2 years. And I was just looking around, and it's almost like things are coming off, in my mind, I guess, emotionally, this is how it felt. It still looked the way that it looked at the time, but in my mind's eye, I think on mushrooms, things were coming off the shelves, the world was crumbling around. And that's essentially what was happening, because I decided that, for the betterment of both of our lives, we had to break up. And not only break up, but separate. Live in separate spaces, go our own ways, even if we had to spend a little time apart. I know a lot of people usually have to, and I'm a big advocate for that. But this mushroom trip, just I had this idea that, I'm gonna get to the core of, the emotions that I have towards myself. I set all these different intentions for the trip, and psilocybin was no, we're gonna focus on the fact that you're the place that you've been living in for 2 years is not really a home anymore, and that the relationship that you've cultivated for 3 years is done. It's done. It's gone. Everything that you could cling to in this relationship is gone. And the only thing that you could cling to now are memories of when it was good. And psilocybin has always been this very brutal, direct teacher. Whether it's the first experience I had where I'm like seeing that we're all like these strings of light and like my inner child came out and I had no walls, and then like seeing the slow division of me and my partner going in different directions, growing in different directions in trip 2 and 3. Trip 4, I realized that there was nothing to cling to, that I did make the right decision, but that it also hurts. And I cried my eyes out. It was brutal. It was beautiful too, though. My 5th and final trip was this year. It was over the summer. So I guess my first trip was 2019, and then I tripped in 2021 twice, and then I tripped in 2022, and then finally in 2023 this year. So like I think my goal, because like psilocybin has been such a beautiful, deep therapy session for me, and I'm also in therapy too, so I'm not going to say like I just lean heavy on the psychedelics and just lean heavy on the journaling and the meditating and ignoring talking to people, ignoring community. Like, no, we need all that too. So I'm committed enough to healing to where like I'm open to all of it. You know, like I'll go to a poetry group. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could be anything. It is all of it, essentially. But psilocybin, I think my goal is to have just one really good, deep therapeutic session with psilocybin every year. Just at least one. And the one this year was probably the most devastating in just how it felt. I once again set an intention. Maybe eventually I'll learn that setting intentions with psilocybin doesn't really matter, because psilocybin has plans for you. You just got to remain open and be aware, and try not to fight it, because the fighting is what makes it a bad trip, and sort of kind of what I was doing in a way with this trip. But I set the intention, you know, I live in this beautiful place. I'm just going to enjoy my space. You know, I could walk down to this lake. I'm going to enjoy the lake, maybe go on a little like nature walk, beautiful scenery outside. The weather's great. So I'm just going to like take in nature, right? Maybe get some journaling done. Who knows? Maybe it'll even lean in a creative direction. And psilocybin, like every step of the way was like, no, we're going to look at this instead. Like I was sitting, I was like, this is magical too, because I've never since then or before ever gone down to this lake in this specific spot that's in the brush down by the shore. There was an armchair, like a straight up like professor looking armchair, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Someone left this here. So I sat in it and I was like, this feels so good. The water's beautiful. Why do I feel so miserable? Why am I so sad? And it's just like, it got so overwhelming after a while that I just got up and decided to walk, started walking. Was like looking at like how the light pierced through the leaves and just like how everything is swaying and everything was so beautiful. And just that thought kept coming, like why am I so miserable? Why am I so, and then, you know, after like a really brutal walk, I guess I was fighting through like my own sadness and loneliness by just trying to like be in the present moment and like, you know, look at nature and be with nature and stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna light a candle, draw a bath, maybe put something meditative on. And I did. But while I was laying in that very warm, comfortable bath, what I felt was like an emaciated, bony, shriveled, broken version of myself in like this dirty, empty bathtub everything's dark, everything's monotone, almost like an impressionist oil painting or something. And I think it was in that moment I realized that my body, even though like this year or in March I started doing shadow work. I have another video on that, so if you want to check that out. But even though I was several months into my shadow work at the time, I was still being confronted with pain, grief, sorrow, and sadness that not only wasn't in my foreground, it was very much in my subconscious, but I was also trying to actively fight it in a way by doing relaxing things, or trying to be with nature, and like instead of just being with my sadness, being with my pain. Oh, I'm feeling this, let me feel it. And so finally I got to a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. I just rolled with it, and it was painful. like the crying felt like it was coming out of my spine and my ribs, and that it was like coursing up through my body like a circulatory system or a nervous system, essentially. And a lot of mourning was done. A lot of mourning, and it wasn't even about anything or anyone specifically. It was literally just this big grief-stricken mourning process that I was going through. And then eventually the trip subsided. The mourning subsided. And I was very exhausted. So, if you happened to be very excited to try psilocybin because of how I described the first trip, maybe now you're second guessing it because of the fifth and final trip that I did that I just described. But it really is all about where you're at in life, like how authentically are you embodying how you feel, your pain, like how much of your trauma have you actually processed? Like, yeah, sure, we've lived through all of it, right? We've grieved and mourned for the people that we lost, hopefully. But our body stores that. Our body stores so much. Like, when I was going through my breakup, I was mourning the breakup because I felt the loss of it in the moment. And then a year later, I'm still grieving it. As soon as I start doing my shadow work and I start getting deeper into myself. And so I think the big thing is that our pain needs to just come through. And psilocybin, psilocybin didn't make me feel miserable. Psilocybin didn't ruin a beautiful experience that I could have had with it. No. Psilocybin was showing me things that I was ignoring or that I wasn't paying attention to because of I'm afraid to feel that, and because of my trauma and the way that I was raised and everything, like I'm afraid to feel in any case because emotions are scary. We're not in control of them, right? We got to be in control. Well, the funny thing about the shadow work that I've been doing, that psilocybin is just trying to show you, psilocybin is just showing you stuff and letting you feel it. It's not telling you to do anything. What you decide to do based on all that is on you, right? And so for me, I realized that even though I was several months into my shadow work and I was allowing myself to feel shit, I was still not being with my pain, still not allowing myself to fully mourn stuff. Because essentially what you should do is that as it's coming up, whatever's coming up, you let yourself feel it in that moment. Whether it's sorrow, happiness, sadness, anger, all of it. You let yourself feel it. You don't need to physically, and this is something that I've learned for myself. So again, I'm not telling anyone to do what they should or should not be doing. This is just what I've learned and how I've learned to deal with my own trauma. But as it's coming up, I just let it come through, regardless. And as you let it come through, you get to release it, and then it's not in your orbit anymore. There's a meditation that I picked up that has a beautiful mantra to it. I like to call a meditation that has a mantra a prayer meditation. It's almost like you're saying a prayer or setting an intention in a way. That I picked up from Aaron Doughty. I don't want to try and pronounce it because I will definitely mispronounce it, but chances are, if you're watching this, you might already be aware of his channel, so you probably already know about this, but let me share it with you because it's actually been helping me. So essentially, what I like to do, especially during this whole shadow work process, is like I'll bring my hands to prayer center. Maybe I'll be sitting like on a pillow, on the floor, whatever feels more grounding and comfortable for me. Close my eyes, take a deep breath, and in my first breath, I just release and I say, I'm sorry. Now that's to me. Please forgive me. That's also to me. Thank you. Gratitude. I love you. Acceptance. So all four of those phrases, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, is designed to clear your energy field of whatever excess like negativity or trauma or any just extra like low energy that's just like stuck in your field in a way. Because like I truly believe, and I feel it too, like we go throughout our day carrying energy. Like say for example, I wake up in the morning on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe I stub my toe, or maybe I wake up late and I'm trying to get to work and I didn't get to make my coffee. I'm kind of pissed that I didn't get my coffee. I carry that energy with me all day. Maybe throughout the day, I'll learn how to release it, or I'll pick up different energies, and days can be turned around. But if you're starting your day by releasing that energy, then you're not carrying it with you anymore. And clearly, like, there's this like desire to cling in a way. Another thing that psilocybin brutally taught me. There is nothing to cling to. You just gotta let things come as they come and then let them go when it's their time to go. And the things that we don't want to cling to, sadness, pain, sorrow, anger, wind up staying longer in our energy field the more we resist them. So that prayer, that meditative prayer, is one of many ways to clear your energy field of the things that you don't want to hold on to anymore. But I think direct action too is the most important and the most effective way to clear those energies that you don't want in your field out of your field. So don't be afraid of your feelings. Whatever you're feeling, just let it come. And yeah, sure, I'm a Capricorn. I have all these plans, I have all these ideas, set all these intentions, and things don't go my way. Now, instead of being upset that things aren't going my way, I'm curious, why aren't they going my way? What is here for me to take away from this experience? So, thank you for listening. This was my experience with psilocybin. Got a little into a few different things in this, but that's just because these were 5 very massive trips for me over the course of 5 years, and very transformative. And also, I think all of our different practices are connected too. We're spiritual beings experiencing what it's like to be human. So everything is interconnected. So, you know, even though this is supposed to be hyper-focused on, oh, this is what psychedelics is like, this is what it did for me, it's always so much more than that. So thank you for listening, and be well.